Let's talk about Stephen Colbert. Okay, so his political talk show may be over, but he is still the new king of late night. Whether you prefer his crazy right-wing persona or his seemingly endless supply of real-life charm, there's no denying that Stephen Colbert is a man who can wear many hats and hates bears. That's why we're counting 107 of the facts that you need to know about one of the funniest entertainers in the world. Stephen Colbert was born on May 13th, 1964 in Washington, D.C., but was raised in South Carolina. Stephen Colbert is the youngest of 11 children, with 7 brothers and 3 sisters. When he was young, Colbert learned through television that Southern accents were often mistaken as signs of stupidity. Though he did not agree with this misconception, he did not want to seem stupid, so he taught himself how to speak without an accent by imitating newsmen on television, and then, kept on imitating newsmen on television. Stephen Colbert is a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and he even had a small cameo in The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Colbert originally fell in love with his reading in response to a family tragedy that occurred in 1974 when he lost his father and 2 brothers in a plane crash. He later came to terms with the incident after learning to embrace all the failures and disasters in his life. Colbert originally attended the Hampden-Sydney College of Virginia to study philosophy, but decided to transfer to Northwestern University to become a theater major. Before the Colbert Report, Stephen Colbert was a regular correspondent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. He first joined the show in 1997 and stayed on for 8 years. And do yourself a favor and Google Even Steven. During his time as a member of the Chicago improv and sketch theater, The Second City, Colbert met fellow comedians Amy Sedaris and Paul Dinello. At The Second City, Colbert was an understudy for Steve Carell. I think that guy's still probably doing regional theater somewhere. Amy Sedaris, Paul Dinello, and Stephen Colbert later worked together to create the Comedy Central series Exit 57 in 1997, and then Strangers with Candy in 1999. In 2007, Ben & Jerry's rolled out a new ice cream flavor inspired by Stephen Colbert called Americone Dream, and it tastes good when I'm sad at 2 in the morning. On most Sundays, you can find Stephen Colbert and his family attending church. They are devout Catholics. When not on the air, Stephen Colbert likes to teach Sunday school. Stephen Colbert's favorite saint is Saint Peter, who was the first pope. I didn't know that. As a high school student, Stephen Colbert was an avid Dungeons & Dragons player. In 2006, a bald eagle was born in the San Francisco Zoo. Colbert claimed the bird as his own son and dubbed it Stephen Colbert Jr. A ringtone of the cry of Stephen Colbert Jr. is available for free download at www.rareearthtones.org. The Saginaw Spirit, a hockey team in Saginaw, Michigan, named their mascot after Stephen Colbert. The name? Steagle Colbeagle the Eagle. I can not say that 12 times fast. Colbert auditioned for SNL in 1992 but was rejected. Somewhere Mark Maron wants to ask him questions about it. When NASA held an online contest to name a room in the International Space Station, Colbert took the opportunity to tell his viewers to vote for his name. Though NASA decided against naming the room Colbert, it did name a treadmill for him. It is called COLBERT, an acronym for Combined Operational Load-Bearing External Resistance Treadmill. I wonder how long they spent thinking of that one. There was a theory that if any politician appeared on the Colbert Report, they would experience a surge in popularity called the Colbert Bump. The term was originally coined by Colbert after Representative John Hall appeared on the report and went on to win a very close election in 2006. The Colbert Bump phenomena has continued on even after Colbert's move to The Late Show. Cocktail historian David Wondrich designed a drink named the Colbert Bump on the August 4th, 2009 episode of the Colbert Report. It contains 1 ounce of cherry hearing liqueur, 1.5 ounces of gin, and 1/4 ounce of lemon juice and a little soda water. As a teenager, Colbert was in a Rolling Stones cover band called A Shot in the Dark, beginning his illustrious career of pretending to be other people. Colbert is a proud feminist. In 2015, he wrote an article for Glamour titled, Stephen Colbert Shares Why He Thinks Women Should Be in Charge of Everything. In April 2006, Stephen Colbert delivered a speech at the White House Correspondents Association dinner. He totally crushed it. Colbert has a deep fear of bears. It's so bad that whenever something isn't going well in his life, he starts to dream of them. Colbert dabbled in different forms of writing as a teen and would often write for his friends. For some time, he wrote short stories on a daily basis in order to impress a girl he had a crush on. In 2006 and 2012, Colbert was named as one of Time's 100 most influential people. Not sure what they were thinking from 2007 to 2011. Even though Colbert is Irish, German, and English, he uses the French pronunciation of his last name. A type of spider which I can't pronounce is native to California. Its name, if you haven't already noticed on the screen, is inspired by Stephen Colbert. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Colbert voiced the character in the animated SNL segment The Ambiguously Gay Duo. The other character in the duo? Voiced by Steve Carell. Colbert once debated with famed astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson over whether or not Pluto should be classified as a planet. Colbert was, of course, on Pluto's side. He lost. Colbert made an appearance on Jon Stewart's last episode of The Daily Show, delivering a heartfelt speech to him which left him teary-eyed. Stephen Colbert's middle name? Tyrone. After working as a farm worker for a day, Stephen Colbert testified on Capitol Hill to express his concerns toward the conditions that undocumented farm workers are forced to face. Stephen Colbert was once physically chased by the KKK. While he was covering a KKK event, Klan members got angry after discovering that Colbert was working with a comedy segment. Colbert and his producer had to run away from them as they followed. Colbert was once a guest star in Law & Order: Criminal Intent, where he played a document authenticator named James Bennett. Stephen Colbert voices Phil Ken Sebin in Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, a show on Adult Swim that aired from 2000 to 2007. Colbert is on the cover of the Sports Illustrated December 2009 issue as a sponsor of the U.S. speed skating team. Stephen Colbert is featured in the comic book The Amazing Spider-Man number 573, where he teams up with Spider-Man and runs for president. After Captain America's in-comic death in 2007, Marvel sent Colbert a full-size replica of Captain America's shield, stating that it was in Captain America's will that the shield be given to Colbert. In 1997, Stephen Colbert had a brief stint on Good Morning America as a correspondent covering the National Rube Goldberg Machine contest at Purdue University. Colbert provided voiceover work for the character Professor Impossible in the animated series The Venture Brothers for the first 2 seasons. He did not reprise his role for the third, and his assistant declined the part with the statement, "Stephen has neither the time nor the interest in participating in your project." This caused quite the stir with show creator Jackson Public. Professor Impossible was voiced by Christopher McCulloch and Bill Hader in subsequent seasons. Colbert briefly reprised his role as Professor Impossible in the season 6 special All This and Gargantua 2, which aired earlier this year. In 2015, Colbert officially replaced David Letterman as the host of The Late Show. His first episode aired on September 8, 2015. Colbert played the character Chuck in Amy Sedaris' Strangers with Candy. Stephen Colbert is married to actress Evelyn McGee Colbert, who actually played his character Chuck's mother in Strangers with Candy. Colbert was named Person of the Year by the U.S. Comedy Arts Festival in Aspen on March 24, 2007. Colbert has stated that he did not or rarely allowed his children to watch The Colbert Report. He said, "Kids can't understand irony or sarcasm, and I don't want them to perceive me as insincere." Stephen Colbert's right ear bends out at an odd angle, often sticking out. He's actually deaf in that ear. It was caused by an operation he had as a child meant to fix a perforated eardrum. Colbert has demonstrated his ability to tuck his right ear inside itself and pop it out at will. Colbert once dreamed of becoming a marine biologist. Colbert's marine biologist dream was put to a halt because of his eardrum condition, which prevents him from scuba diving. Colbert explained how having older siblings shaped his taste in culture. Through his siblings, he said, he learned about everything from the Watergate scandal to old school records and comedians that, quote, someone his age absolutely should not like. Colbert and his wife aided in the launch of the Montclair Film Festival. On October 16, 2007, Colbert announced that he was going to run for president. He planned on applying for spots on both the Democratic and Republican Party's ballot in South Carolina, but chose not to continue pursuing a spot on the Republican ballot after refusing to pay the $35,000 fee. Later that year, on November 1st, 2007, the Democratic Party voted 13-3 to refuse Colbert's application for a spot after determining that he was not a serious candidate. I don't know why they would have thought that. Stephen Colbert eventually did become president, landing a voiceover role as the President of the United States in the animated film Monsters vs. Aliens. It's almost as good as the real thing. Stephen Colbert's wife doesn't like Stephen Colbert's alter ego, Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert was once banned by Wikipedia. Colbert is reportedly fluent in an Elvish language found in J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth lore. In 1977, Colbert won a radio contest to see a 2-week advance screening of the first Star Wars film ever. Stephen Colbert has won 3 Emmys, 2 of which were for his writing in the Colbert Report. Colbert played the letter Z in Sesame Street All-Star Alphabet. Colbert was on 3 variant covers for the December 19, 2014 issue of Entertainment Weekly, cosplaying as Bilbo, Gandalf, and Legolas from The Hobbit. 16-year-old Stephen Colbert was very happy. Colbert was a guest host on the Michigan public access television show Only in Monroe. He took the opportunity to interview Eminem, calling him by his given name Marshall Mathers, and acting as though he didn't know who Eminem was. Stephen Colbert was tired of the Colbert Report and was planning on leaving it whether he got the spot on The Late Show or not. Lucky for us, he did. Colbert was the longest-running correspondent on The Daily Show. Colbert fears that people perceive him as a politician first and a comedian second. Although his alter ego Stephen Colbert from the Colbert Report is a right-wing pundit, the real Stephen Colbert is actually a registered Democrat. Stephen Colbert's book, I Am America, and So Can You, was on the New York Times bestseller list for 24 weeks. Of the 24 weeks, I Am America and So Can You occupied the New York Times bestseller list. 14 were spent at the #1 spot. Colbert partnered with the Mortgage Family Foundation's ShareFair Nation and ScanSource to fund all of the grant requests South Carolina teachers made on DonorsChoose.org. This came to a total of $800,000. Stephen Colbert is a generous philanthropist supporting 15 different charities and organizations, including Stand Up to Cancer and the Yellow Ribbon Fund. Colbert has also used his show as a direct vehicle to support charity. He auctioned tickets to his show for Autism Speaks and sold one of the portraits from the Colbert Report on eBay to support Save the Children. Colbert struck a deal with Microsoft after the 2010 oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Every time he said the word Bing on his show on June 8, 2010, Microsoft would donate $2,500 to Colbert's self-made Colbert Nation Gulf of America Fund, which would provide relief efforts for the spill. Colbert managed to say Bing 40 times during his show, obtaining $100,000 from Microsoft. Colbert recently guest starred on Netflix original cartoon BoJack Horseman. He has played an anthropomorphic bullfrog, Mr. Witherspoon, in 2 episodes over the course of the show's 2 seasons. Colbert also recently made a guest appearance on the Adult Swim cartoon Rick and Morty, playing the hyper-intelligent alien Zeep Zanflorp in the episode The Ricks Must Be Crazy. In 2005, Colbert played a guest role on American Dad, voicing Dr. Dandliker. Normally the T in Colbert's name is silent, but during the 2007 to 2008 writer's strike, he enunciated the T to indicate the importance of his writers. There are a few times when Colbert will actually agree with his character, Stephen Colbert. He estimated that it was around 13.4% of the time. Colbert states that it is not his intention to change or influence people's minds, but mostly he just wants to confuse people in amusing ways. On October 30th, 2010, Colbert teamed up with Jon Stewart to put on the, quote, Rally to Restore Sanity and or Fear, a comedy event meant to bring people together in conversation and to stop infighting between political parties. They kind of succeeded. In 2005, the word truthiness was popularized after Colbert said it on the debut episode of the Colbert Report. Also in 2005, the American Dialect Society named truthiness Word of the Year. In 2006, truthiness was voted official word of the year by Merriam-Webster. In 2008, it was decided that Colbert's DNA would be sent to the International Space Station. There were 1,447 episodes of the Colbert Report produced over the show's 9-year run. Number 687 was my favorite. Stephen Colbert made 13 guest appearances on The Late Show with David Letterman over the course of the same 9 years the Colbert Report aired, leading up to his now takeover of the show. Colbert's mother was the one who encouraged him to enter Northwestern's theater program, which eventually led him to improv, which eventually led him to being on TV every day. Stephen Colbert's father was a successful physician who served as the assistant dean of Yale University's medical school. He was also the vice president for academic affairs at the Medical University of South Carolina and the dean at St. Louis University. So even though Stephen Colbert is religious, he does not have a problem with others being gay. He said, "There's nothing wrong with being gay. I have plenty of friends who are going to hell." Although he is devoutly religious, Colbert has no issues criticizing the faults of Christianity and other people who practice it. Within a year of its debut, the Colbert Report averaged 1.5 million viewers a night. The finale of the Colbert Report was the most widely watched episode in the show's history. In 2014, Colbert became a pitchman in actual commercials for Wonderful Pistachios. The commercials were first aired during the Super Bowl. The Colbert Report was broadcast simultaneously in the US and Canada soon after it debuted. Eventually, it would be aired on M3. Ideally, Colbert likes guests who won't be afraid to show their personality and feel strongly about what they're talking about. He wants people who will allow for little dramatic friction. In June of 2011, Colbert gained legal permission to form a super PAC and promote it on his show. The one-man committee was able to receive unlimited funds without needing to disclose where they came from. Colbert used his super PAC over the course of the next year to satirically shed light on the huge loopholes and exemptions that corporations use super PACs for, gaining a lot of media attention for the recent Citizens United decision. Colbert won a Peabody Award for his super PAC satire work in 2012. When Colbert was younger, he looked up to the Lord of the Rings character Aragorn and considers him to be the model of manhood. A Venezuelan diving beetle was named after Colbert. Colbert is one of the many producers of the 1 Second Film, which is the world's largest nonprofit collaborative film. All of Colbert's 3 children have appeared on The Daily Show. Colbert wrote a book with Amy Sedaris and Paul Dinello in the early 2000s titled Wakefield, the can-do town that just may not. Stephen Colbert was awarded the honorary doctorate degree of fine arts at Knox College and gave the commencement speech. Internet people, those were 107 facts. If those were not enough for you and you have some that we missed, put them down in the comments below. Also, subscribe and be sure to tell us which 107 facts we should tackle next. I'm Jon Sarlin for The Daily Share. Till next time.